I'm going to do one more video on account abstraction, and this one is going to be more in the details, the weeds. If you don't know about account abstraction, you might end up using it in the future. In fact, a lot of people will probably use it in apps and in the software that they interact with, but they won't realize they're using it. So it is important, but understanding how it works is, there very few people are probably going to understand that. If you're an app developer and you're thinking about using it, it's important that you understand what it is and the pros and cons of it. I am going to list the pros and cons at the end, but let me first give this overview. So you have the off-chain version of your wallets. These would be your private keys, the way that you have your Trust wallet, your MetaMask wallet, whatever. And then when you do account abstraction, somebody creates a new private key. Okay, and that new private key, I circled in red the areas with special permissions by the company that you work with. So this new company makes a new private key, and that new private key is stored someplace. It's stored on a server. It might not be your server. It's probably not your server. Whether or not you have to give permission every single time a transaction happens is up to the person who implements the system for you. In most cases, you're not going to have to approve every single transaction that happens when you're using account abstraction, because that would slow down the process, and the whole point is to try and make things more smooth. So this is probably one of the reasons why one of the biggest distractors is that this private key that's held someplace else means that you aren't really, it is a custodial system primarily, unless it's implemented that this wallet, your primary wallet, like your MetaMask or whatever, needs to approve every single transaction, then it is a completely custodial system. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just that you need to know that's what's going on. And for most people in the future, when they're using like their bank's crypto app or whatever, they're not going to care, because they're going to use a trusted provider who is going to be storing these private keys, and they trust them anyway. But anyway, so the next part is on chain, and this is where the wallets get deployed. And so there's a few different smart contracts involved. There's one called a wallet factory, and the wallet factory, the organization that you're dealing with, has the permissions to this as well. So this is why I circled it in red. Those two places have permissions, special permissions. The wallet factory gets called by, there's this entry point contract, and the company that this is like a generic contract. Doesn't have, like, anybody can use this contract in most systems. The same thing with this bundler. Anybody can use this bundler. Okay, the paymaster probably should circle that in red too. The company has special permissions to the paymaster too. But anyway, so they talk to the entry point. The entry point talks to the wallet factory, and the wallet factory creates a new wallet for the user. So every new private key in the system gets a new wallet created for it. And then that wallet is the one, that's why they call it wallet abstraction. This is the abstract wallet right here. Okay, and it has permissions granted by this private key that has been created to have special permissions to this wallet. In fact, you don't even need to create a new private key for every user. Some people will probably just use one private key for every single user, but they'll always use different abstract wallets. So this can be a one-to-many relationship if they wanted, but in most cases, naively, because the way they're recommending it, it'll probably end up being one-to-one. I imagine further in the future, there'll be like one admin key and a bunch of abstract wallets. Okay, so you have the wallet factory that's used every time a new wallet is created. And then you have the entry point. This is how the company is interacting with this system. And it's also interacting with the system through this thing called the bundler, which is a server. That's a centralized server. It's like a Node server or a Rust server that's living on like AWS. And this can be generic as well. So there's some companies like Alchemy and Third Web who are running this bundler as a service. And what happens is you submit these transactions, these signed transactions, to the bundler. The bundler does some checks on the transaction to make sure that it's going to go through, because the bundler, the reason why it's a service is because the bundler is going to use its own cryptocurrency in order to run these transactions. So if it's like Alchemy or Third Web, what they want to do is they want to make money. Sometimes they'll charge a fee on top of the bundler because the bundler is taking risk. Right, the bundler is taking a risk in that if something goes wrong in the transaction, it doesn't get paid back, then that's a risk. and they're also paying the server fees. But in reality, if they do their proper checks and they check to make sure they have enough gas or whatever, then it's not really a huge risk, because they can check to make sure that they're going to get paid back. And in most cases, they'll actually get paid. There's a special fee that they'll get paid even just for checking, and they'll always get back some amount even if the transactions fail. That's how it's set up. So the company makes this wallet factory and these wallets ahead of time. Maybe it'll just make the wallet factory, and then it makes these private keys. Then it sends a transaction to the bundler, and then it might also set up a paymaster. But actually, in most cases, like what Alchemy is doing, what Third Web is doing, what I can imagine, there's a few other companies are actually running the paymaster themselves. So the company that you're working with, like the company that's using the system. So there's like two companies involved. There's the service provider, which is the one that's running the bundler and the entry point and the paymaster. And then there's like the final user company, which is the one that's creating these private keys. It's creating it's owning the wallet factory and the new wallets. That's the abstraction part. And then there's the final user, which are the users of that company, right? So when you go to use wallet abstraction as a user of one of these services, they will ask you to create some, like a wallet factory, and then they will start letting you use their bundler service, and then it'll automatically start creating. They have this whole central part set up, so it'll automatically start making the wallets once you sign up for them. Then there's also companies that will just store these private keys for you. My company actually does that, OwnerFi, and I was thinking about making it more appealing so it can do that on a programmatic level in this section too. But most people will probably want to store their own private keys. Well, I can't say most. But when you've been hearing that, oh, now you can create a wallet with an email or a phone number now, what they're really talking about is just linking an email and phone number to a private key that's saved on either one of these third-party companies that's saving a private key, or you're linking an email and phone number to a private key that you've created that ultimately will sign transactions for that are linked to this wallet, that has permissions to these abstract wallets that get created from the wallet factory. So, and what can that abstract wallet do? This is the abstract wallet. Well, for the most part, they can run arbitrary code, so they can send NFTs, mint NFTs, do ERC-28 transactions. I think they can do pretty much any kind of contract interaction. It's just arbitrary bytecode, but I did see some limits on the development version. So I'm sure in the future this will be pretty much unlimited. One of the limits that they used to have is they couldn't do signatures, like private key signatures, because you need an actual private key, which these wallets don't have. They give access from signatures signed by a private key, but they don't actually have a private key because they're completely on chain. But now there is a ERC code snippet that allows these to do private key signatures, although I can't say that it's compatible everywhere. So that's one of the things you have to watch out for when you're doing wallet abstraction, is that a system that these abstract wallets interact with, whether or not it's compatible with the ERC 1271 standard. One thing I don't like about the way a lot of the companies are currently implementing this is that they are making their money off of becoming paymasters instead of off of being a bundler. Because the bundler is just a server running on that you just have to pay for service fees on. But as a paymaster, they can take a percentage fee on the conversion rates for cryptocurrency. And like I said in my other video, they're taking like a 10% rate on transactions right now, which is like 3 times higher than a credit card. And technically in this system, you should be able to be your own paymaster. So these companies should be offering companies the ability to deposit money and be their own paymaster. Oh, another interesting thing you can do with this system is the paymaster can pay for the transactions. I didn't mention that they pay back the bundler. That's how the paymaster works. But they can also take tokens from the abstract wallet as a fee, and then the paymaster can pay back the bundler. So here are the pros and cons. You don't leave as much change in a bunch of different wallets. Users can, use their own accounts to sign transactions, and you can use arbitrary tokens. The cons are it is very centralized. Security is reduced to lots of central points. The user is technically going to have 2 wallets. The actual blockchain transactions are a little bit more expensive, and currently the way it's implemented, companies can double dip and they don't let you be your own paymaster. And you can pause this if you want to read the rest of that. Peace.